Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and call this meeting to order at 5:05 p.m. I'm gonna go ahead and do a roll call and establish quorum. So I am here. Instead of Michael, we have me as a representative for Michael on behalf of the Business Services Committee. So me, are you here?
Yes, I'm here.
Thank you. Amend, are you here? They are absent. Caduceus Club,
Here.
InterVarsity Christian Fellowship,
Here.
and Third Wave. Third Wave is absent, but we do have quorum, 4 out of 6. So we'll go ahead and move forward with approval of the agenda. So yes, very brief agenda as always. Any questions or comments here? Otherwise, I'm just going to go ahead and move to a vote. All right. At this time, then, I'd like to go ahead and entertain a motion to adopt the agenda for April 23rd, 2021. Do I have a first?
Please go first.
Okay. So Sylvia from InterVarsity Christian Fellowship first, and I believe Sophia, you seconded.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So I'm just going to go ahead and do a unanimous vote on this. Are there any opposed to adopting the agenda? Any abstentions? All right, well, we have adopted the agenda for today. Next is approval of minutes from our previous meeting, which was April 9th. I'll just pop that in here. We had one funding request come through from Lancer Motorsports, which we did approve, and that's pretty much what happened at that meeting. If there are no comments or questions, I'm gonna go ahead and now move to approve the minutes from April 9th, 2021. Do I have a first?
InterVarsity first.
InterVarsity Christian Fellowship first, and do I have a second?
Second.
Caduceus Club seconds, thank you. Are there any opposed to that? Are there any abstentions? All right, minutes have been unanimously approved. Thank you for that. Is there any public comment on non-agenda items at this time? I know we have one guest, but I think it might be more productive if they spoke during the action item instead. But Oscar, since you are here, you're free to make a public comment. While I
Hi.
check.
Okay, yeah. So I'm looking to,
Actually, let's, it's public comment on non-agenda items. If you're going to speak on an agenda item, wait until that agenda happens.
okay,
That
okay.
item
So
happens.
he'll just hold it then. The YouTube does not have anything, but I know there's a lag. I'll bring it up if there's anything, but for expediency's sake, I'll just move on to discussion item A. ICC funding procedures. Does anyone have any problems with Lancer Life or any technical glitches or anything like that, or need a review on anything? Me, are you good? Do you need any help? I know I asked you to watch the video and stuff, and there's a lot of information. So if there's anything you need to go over, we can.
No, I'm good.
Okay, cool. So with that, we'll just go out and move to our action item, our one and only action item for today. So we have 2 requests on the docket to approve. I know it says 3 here, but SCTA turned in another one. But since Oscar is here, I'll go ahead and start off with Pie Club. So Pie Club, their request is that they wanted to go ahead and pay for a Wix website premium plan, which will allow them to have a website up for their club. Everything looks good. This is correct. I do not think they need an ARF, but they provided one regardless, which is fine. It looks like this was for the in preparation for Pi Day event and just in general for the club. But this is fine because we said we are going to pay for subscriptions for clubs. So with this request, there was a little bit of a glitch in that so their total is $360 for 2 years. And Carrie and I talked about it and we were willing to pay for their subscription for 1 year, because usually when we fund clubs, it's for contents and events that are happening within that semester, not anything outside of that. I know 1 year, if we buy this subscription now, it will last until, next year at this time, but I guess that's the way the billing cycle works. So with that said, Oscar met with me after the ICC meeting and was able to go ahead and obtain an invoice for me, discussing the, sorry, there's a little bit of a load time here as I prep this, but the long and short of it is that the invoice, it looks correct. It has an address on it. It has the correct billing information on it. The only thing is that they went ahead and paid for it already out of pocket. So if we were to go ahead and pay for only 1 year, which is half of 360, we would be funding them 180, and the other 180 would be coming out of, their club. So what do you all think about that? Let me go ahead and, Carrie, do you want the committee to go first, or do you want Oscar to speak first on this?
I would leave it up to the will of the committee. It might be helpful to have him speak, but it's up to the committee.
Okay. All right, Oscar. So I don't know if you want to go ahead and speak on behalf of your club about this request, and about how much you want us to fund you or what you were expecting.
If the ICC community can fund like for the 2 year, it would be good better. And the reason that why we bought a 2 year is because only when we bought 2 year, we save more than we buy like 1 year, because like 1 year is around like 180 or like 100 something already, and it's better for us to buy 2 year instead.
Hey,
Okay.
Chris, can you send me the invoice for that? That's what I was looking for.
Oh, it's on the Lancer Live comment section.
Okay.
I can send it to you.
Oh no, I'm in there, so I'll find it. Okay.
Okay.
And we bought the business premium VIP plan, which has unlimited storage hours. So because the Pi Day event is around like more than 10 hours, so then we need to buy this plan to fit our recordings.
Okay.
And when each individual, like when they go to the website, the price change a lot. It sometimes say like $49 a month, sometimes like a lot cheaper. So like before the amount of money was 800 something, but we find like a coupon and cut it in half. So it would be better if we can have fund the whole amount, so we could let next year's Pi Day be stored on the website as well.
Okay. So does the committee have any thoughts on that? Do you want to fund them for the 2 years, or are you wanting to limit it only to 1 year? Even though I know they paid for the 2 already, which we typically don't recommend. Sophia?
So I think we should do the funding for 2 years, but I'm also the vice president of the Pi Club, and I don't know if my having a say in what the committee decides would be a conflict of interest.
Okay. When you vote, you can go ahead and vote to abstain, but
Okay.
I know that we are kind of really on the edge of quorum here today, so we might need your vote to, get passed. Carrie.
I'm confused. I'm looking at the invoice. It says 760, but the request is for 360 or 720.
Yeah, there was a 50% off coupon. So 7 something for the 2 years, and Dr. Chang got 50% off.
Okay.
I apologize for the delay, but I had to go and redact the address information. But this is the
Okay, because
invoice.
the one I've got says 7. Oh, never mind. I just didn't scroll down far enough. Never mind. I see it.
Anybody else from the committee have any thoughts on this, Nee or Sylvia?
Yeah, for me, I don't mind funding it. I was just, waiting to hear if there was what is it? A regulation from the
Right.
college.
Yeah, I also agree. I think if it's possible, it would be better if we can fund it. We can fund them like 360.
Okay, so it sounds like the will of the committee is that they're okay funding the full amount. Carrie, do you have any thoughts to temper this or?
Yeah, so this is the problem. I don't think you can because your funding is only for this year. I'm willing to let them pay for it now and let it go through next year. Although technically that we shouldn't be doing that because we should only be funding things that are happening during this semester. I'm okay going for 1 year, but 2 years is just really too far. 2 years is really too far. And this is an example of what I asked people, like when I asked the other group, I forget who it was, who bought memberships or registration for stuff. What would you do if we hadn't agreed to pay for it? Because now what this does is this puts you as a committee in a very awkward position because now you feel like you should fund this, right? Because someone's out of pocket. So, those two things really rub me wrong because it now, almost in an essence, assumes that you would have gotten that. So that's my question, I guess. Oscar, what is your club going to do? What if we had, because funding is not guaranteed? What would you have done if we'd say no? Because technically, because this is only supposed to be for this semester, we could say we are only supposed to pay for until June.
Yeah, so if there's no funding, our advisor will pay for the whole thing.
Wow.
Yeah, it's just like for the speakers already, they in the past they paid the speakers. They didn't ask for the funding, the ICC funding. So yeah, it would be better if I can get some funding, like so they don't have to pay for that much.
When you say they paid, who paid?
All the advisors, like we have 3 advisors, Dr. Cheng and Professor Incres, and yeah, and Professor Incres already said he's willing to put out $50
Out of her own money, you all do
of
this?
his own money, and
Wow.
Dr. Cheng say she will, if the funding doesn't go through, she will cover the whole thing.
So this sounds like a cultural issue. I don't know, and this is something maybe we can work through and maybe get your feedback on, but you shouldn't be paying out of pocket like for stuff at all. I mean, you can, nothing is stopping you, but that's what ICC funding is for. I mean, okay, so I guess, for example, right, like even if you were to pay and the discount, like for just paying 1 year, like, how do I put this? Because what I want to say, Carrie, is like, what if they were to only get the invoice for 1 year, but it was like in the long run more expensive if they paid for 1 year this year and then 1 year the next year? Like we would still pay for it even with the discount or not, right?
Yeah, unfortunately, I get it. And this is one of those things where it makes no logical sense. But it does when you're an accountant, mainly because the way the money is allocated. Money is allocated for a certain amount of time and for a period, and it's supposed to be spent during that time period. Because what's to say that we get someone who says, well, I want a 5-year. It's so much cheaper if we go for 5 years, right? And then at what point are you then taking away the autonomy from the next year's group to say, what if they say they don't want to fund this? Right? So that's why we keep things to a certain calendar time period. And I know you, Chen, and she's so generous. And this is why it's really hard for me to not say just fund it, because I don't want her to have to come out of her pocket 180. I just looked up your account. Pi Club has $130 in their account. You could pull your 130 out of that account and cover quite a bit of this, right? That's one way of doing it. Then you're only down to $50, right? And so that's one thing. on the other hand, I also struggle. I'll be quite honest. I don't want to put roadblocks in front of you, but I have a responsibility as an employee of the college to make sure that we're spending money in an appropriate manner. And I'm waiting for a text to make sure to confirm, to ask. I'm asking our bookkeeper. I'm trying to say that, with the pandemic, things are hard. Can we not cover it? Is there wiggle room?
So, Carrie, even if the committee were to approve this, theoretically, this 2-year thing, and the accountant says no, then we can only fund 1 year.
Yes,
Got
because
it.
Beatrice could refuse to cut the check because it's going to say it's a 2-year thing.
Okay, that worries me. Yeah, for anybody that's watching this live or watching this as a recorded, this is another instance, and this has happened twice already. I don't know what we need to do to change the culture, Carrie, but do not pay for stuff until you get approval from us.
Well, the way we change it is we decide not to pay for this.
Right. I mean, I know it's like, do we give people the carrot or the stick, right? I mean,
what do you all think about this as a group? Because we're not arguing the merits. I agree totally. This is something that, because Pi Club does this every single year, to have this repository of ideas, I think is important. I wish we could have talked to our own campus to see, because this is the other thing, because our own campus might have been able to host this, right, for free. So that's why I'm also a little worried that this happened in this manner, because now the college could have hosted it. Because Oscar, you're saving all of this. It's an archive for all this, the work of all the speakers that they do, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, that could have been something.
Oh, it's because the Pi Day is before the committee, funding committee, and we were not sure like if we were able to get funding.
No, you all knew, because when Pi Day happens, it's 3/14 every year, and you all have been an active club. You were active in the fall, and you could have spent something then, and school started in February. So yeah, or you could have, we were around during winter intersession. So yes, I do agree. I understand it's difficult in this times to navigate this, but I'm going to push back on that, because you all were students in the fall. And you could have, and you knew this was coming, because 3/14 happens every year. So I'm going to push back on that, because I feel like Chris has done a really good job about putting information out there about how to get this done. Right. And even if you'd come back to me in January or in the fall saying this is what we want, I probably would have sent you to our IT department, and they could have done it for you for free. So now you're putting us in this obligatory piece where we have to pay for this.
Sophia,
definitely should have talked to you in early February. None of us were actually on the board until after January. I think it was mid-January. So we didn't have any of this information until we got on the board in mid-January.
Understandable.
Okay, Carrie, so to make it fair, but to also, I'm a fence sitter, right? They have money in their TNA account. Plus is this including the $50 they have participating in?
No, the $50 is another barrier.
That would bring them okay, so if we paid for half and that $50 was deposited into their TNA account, and they have that combined with.
Don't count on the $50. They've got $130 in their account.
Okay. I mean, they would still pay out of pocket in the end, but it's less of a blow now that I know that they have money in their TNA account. So at this time, to kind of speed it up, my recommendation is that I would vote to fund them half, which would be 180. Is that okay with the committee?
So Chris, anyone on the committee can make a motion. It just needs to be motioned and seconded.
Okay.
I have a question. Are we also talking about SCTA's thing today?
Yes.
So I can't make a motion, but I wouldn't object if you wanted to table this for a moment, do SCTA. And like I said, I'm waiting for the answer from the bookkeeper.
Okay, that's fine. Okay, what I'll do, I'll make a big fat motion at the end once they come back to you. But for now, we'll move on to SCTA's request. So SCTA request is pretty simple. Carrie and I had a pretty good conversation with them yesterday about what they wanted to do. They had to go ahead and submit a new form. Like for the record, they had to submit a new form because there was a date that was wrong. Thank you, me, for catching that. And they went ahead and did that. But let me open up the request and let me just double check that there's no personally identifiable information on this. Okay. Before I open it up. Okay, so their request is for like, I guess like a week-long event they wanted to do for National Teacher Day. They want to invite a speaker, Erin Guel. So currently their request is in for the speaker fee for her, which is $1,300. Carrie, I believe in our conversation yesterday, he talked about how they can definitely lower the fee, I believe.
They don't think they can lower the fee.
Okay.
The fee originally started at 1,500.
Okay. But if anything, Carrie and I had a conversation about it, and we believe that, you know, you have a good reason and a good intention for having her there. I know it's a lot of money, but, you know, in hindsight, we did not set a cap like we did if you were around for the funding committee last semester, or if you're familiar with the funding committee's procedures last semester. We did not set a cap like we did then. So, you know, this is kind of fair game for them. It is a lot. I mean, do any of you have any comments or questions about this? I mean, I don't see anything paper-wise wrong with this, but do any of you have any comments?
I don't see anything wrong with it. I was slightly concerned because I had forgotten that we hadn't set a cap for this year. But since there's not a cap, then I have no problems with it.
Okay. Any other comments?
Yeah, I was just waiting about the contract issue. So after April 1st, it's still okay?
Yes, so we actually addressed that concern at the meeting yesterday. So
Okay,
Mike
I didn't know
Bush,
that.
yeah, Mike Bush, who is the person in charge of business services, will be leaving his term April 30th. And as I understand it, a new person will be coming in. So I believe because there's that transition, there will be an ability for us to maybe get a contract into that next person in line to have them sign it and approve it. Because I believe that initial deadline was set by Mike Bush. So it shouldn't be an issue to get this through. But we did caution them and tell them that all the paperwork, not just including the contract for the speaker, but the W-9 tax forms, all that stuff needs to be in by what date, Carrie? April 30th, right?
April 30th, yeah.
Yeah. So we already have, you know, a gentleman's agreement with him, so to speak, about all the stuff they need to turn in preparation for that transition period so that they can get that contract signed. So contract wise, thank you for being aware of those issues, Sylvia, but I think we got it covered. If they get all their ducks in a row by April 30th, you know, I don't have a problem funding them this money. And, you know, being that there were a bunch of people in a meeting yesterday, pretty much the entire board, they were really excited to have the speaker. I have no doubt that, you know, they're on it. So.
Okay, I didn't know about that conversation, so it's a go for me.
All right. So yeah, seeing that SCTA's request is good for all of you. Nee, do you have any thoughts? I know you were in the background there. If you're still there, Nee.
I don't know. I don't have any comments.
Okay. All right. Cool. Carrie, did the bookkeeper get back to you yet?
No, so I guess I'll just throw this out to the group and just kind of have some more conversation around this about your feelings. I am willing to take the will of the group. The only caveat will be that the cutoff will be what administrative policy allows us to do. So if administrative policy says, yes, we'll do 2 years, then and if that's the will of the group, then we'll do 2 years. If the group says 1 year and they said admin agrees 1 year, that's fine too. So I'm willing to take whatever you want to do, but I do want you all to think about this very carefully and have had a good conversation about this. Whoops, this might be right now. So I will move forward with what you all want to do, but ultimately the answer will come down to what Jesse, the auditor, is willing to approve.
Okay.
So does anyone have any opinions on this? Where you want to go with it?
I think we should do the 2 years.
Anyone else?
Well, I think it's a risk on their part, the Pi Club's part. So well, the will of the group can say yes, but like you said, it's up to the auditor ultimately. I say we pay for half of it to be safe, but you know, like I said, it's Pi Club's risk.
If we say to fund it for the 2 years and the auditor says they're not doing 2 years, can the auditor just say, let's do half of that and then half of it's funded?
I'll ask for as much as I can get. It's really the time frame, because and I'll tell you, this is not going to sit well, because they don't like being forced into making this type of decision.
Right.
1 year would have been fine. I could have argued 1 year. 2 years, honestly, is a really hard stretch for me to argue. And the fact that you all paid for it in advance, you know, like I would just say, what are you going to do if we don't fund it?
Right.
And that's a fair question, because the college does not like to be put into a corner like this where they need to reimburse people without having asked permission first.
Nee, do you have any thoughts?
I think that's understandable. Maybe to be safe, we can approve to fund like half amount first and wait to see the opinion from the audit.
Okay. I honestly would be more comfortable doing half, because that, you know, the way I see it, like you are rewarding risk by approving the 2 years. It's like, and for me, honestly, I feel like we have done this to the auditors a lot. You know, I don't know if it's because of the pandemic or because of we're reworking the procedures, but this is not the
Maybe
first time.
my question, I guess, maybe is, Sophia, were you and Oscar, what was the thought process? Who was making these decisions?
I wasn't in that conversation. We just had a change in positions. We had a previous treasurer who just stepped down, and that decision was made.
Okay. Oscar, do you remember how that decision was made?
I think it's like the funding was after Pi Day, but since I wasn't the ICC until like April.
Mhm.
I think it's because like we weren't able to attend like the meetings, I guess, and then they like we weren't able to like ask for funding, and
Mhm.
then the advisors say we should just pay it instead. And the advisors usually pay a lot like before, even like in previous year, and it's because like they know the ICC funding might be like really complicated to go through, so they just pay it out from their pocket. So I think like any amount of money that you're willing to like fund, I think they will appreciate a lot. So
Okay.
So it sounds like you're going to do it whether or not we fund him anyway, but like a best effort thing, Carrie. So if maybe it's a deficiency, or have they been coming to advisor trainings? I don't know. I feel like
I'd have to look up Yu Chen Chang. Who else is your advisors, guys?
Jorge
What?
Encinas.
Sorry.
Professor Encinas.
Do you
And
know their
Jorge.
first name?
Jorge, I think.
Jorge.
I'm sorry.
Jorge.
Jorge. Or Encinas. That doesn't sound familiar.
And then there's Professor Go. Guo.
They might have been there. But also I'll tell you this, Chris, I'm not sure I would have covered ICC funding
See,
in that time.
okay.
I'd cover the mechanics. I don't necessarily. Yeah.
All right. I mean, I know it's a Friday. I know it's kind of late, so I'm just gonna go ahead and now move to approve Pie Club for half of their $360 requested amount for their Wix subscription, and for SCTA's $1,300 speaker fee for Aaron Gurel. Do I have a first?
Wait, are we doing both?
Yep, we're doing both at once in one
You,
motion.
Oh,
you
okay.
can, if you want to split them, you can split them. And understand motions, it takes a first and a second. If you don't like the motion, then you can always vote it down. You can always not second it or first it. It's up to you all.
Right, but that motion is on the floor now. So do any of you want to first it or?
Can I first, since there's a conflict of interest?
No, you can vote. I mean, you're on a committee. Carrie, there's no problem with that, right?
Um,
I know image wise, but you know.
she can move it. Wow. I'm looking at the number of votes we have.
I know.
We got knee 1, 2. So my advice would be, if no one else is no one else willing to move this?
I'll move it.
Okay.
InterVarsity Christian Fellowship moves first.
Okay.
A second.
Okay, so Sylvia from InterVarsity Christian Fellowship first, me as a representative from the Business Affairs Committee seconded. All right, we'll go ahead and move to a roll call vote then. Seeing that this motion is in progress. So I'm gonna just go down in the order I see on my screen. So Nee, how do you vote?
Yes.
Thank you. Sophia from Caduceus Club.
Abstain.
Okay. Sylvia from InterVarsity Christian Fellowship.
Yes.
All right. It looks like based on majority carry, motion passes.
Okay. Okay.
All right. So then moving on then to our last item, future meeting dates and times. I know this meeting was a contentious one, but thank you all for coming. The next meeting will be on May 7th in 2 weeks. So yeah, just check your inboxes for any messages I send to you all in regards to notifying that there are requests in the pipeline, and we can go from there. But at this time then, I'd like to go ahead and adjourn this meeting at 5:39 p.m. Friday, April 23rd. Do I have a, actually, yeah, do I have a first?
I first.
Okay, me first. Do I have a second?
InterVarsity second.
InterVarsity Christian Fellowship seconded. Are there any opposed to adjournment? Are there any abstentions? Okay, motion passes. Meeting has been adjourned. Thank you for coming. Thank you, Oscar, for coming as well.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Who else? Wait, Sophia and Oscar, you're both with the Pi Club?
Yeah.
Okay, Chris, turn off the record.
Yeah, I'm waiting for it to catch up. Sorry.
Yeah.
As soon as I see the screen share stop.
Don't leave.